This is a First Coast News special report.
We are coming on the air with that breaking news. Jacksonville Sheriff Mike Williams has announced that he is retiring effective June 10th.
He recently came under fire for not living in the city in which he serves. Now, the sheriff releasing his retirement resignation letter a short time ago, saying in part in an email, quote, "After some consideration, I have decided that a court battle over my residency would not be good for our community. That being said, I've decided to retire on June 10th, end quote.
And just moments ago, Jacksonville Mayor Lenny Curry releasing this statement. It says, quote, "I have worked closely with Sheriff Williams for the last 7 years through many crucial situations, including mass shootings, hurricanes, violent crime initiatives, investing in our children." He goes on to say Mike is always engaged and he's always involved. He's given 3 decades of exceptional service to the people of Jacksonville, and he concludes, "I wish him well in retirement, and I look forward to working with our next sheriff to continue addressing many of Jacksonville's most important concerns," end quote. Now, it was last week, you may remember, during an interview with On Your Side's Kaylee Tracy, that the sheriff admitted that he moved to Nassau County last year. We have live team coverage, and right now we want to get out to On Your Side's Kaylee Tracy, who is live in front of City Hall. Kaylee, you've been making many phone calls within the past hour or so. We know this resignation comes on the same day the city attorney was expected to rule on whether the sheriff was violating the city's charter, and we have some new news just in concerning Sam Newby. If you can clarify what's going on.
Sure, Keith. I just got off the phone with City Council President Sam Newby. He is the person who actually requested that legal binding opinion that we were supposed to hear today from the Office of the General Counsel at 2 p.m. He says he requested that because he wanted to know whether or not the sheriff moving out of Duval County meant that that was a vacancy in the sheriff's seat, as it is stated in the city charter. Now he says that he has rescinded that request from the Office of the General Counsel. He says he does not need that opinion anymore because the sheriff has said he will retire, meaning there is a vacancy. He says that is clear right now, and instead he says that opinion was only to determine whether or not they should hold a special city council meeting to then determine if they needed a special election for the sheriff's seat. He says because the sheriff has now said he will resign, again June 10th, he says that he will now retire early. Sam Newby is telling me that that means that they will have that special city council meeting. It will be Monday at noon, and they will vote on whether or not to have this special election to put it on the ballot come August. There's a primary in August, and that will most likely happen, that this special election for the sheriff's seat will be on the ballot in August. If a runoff is needed, that will take place in November. As for what happens in the interim until that special election, Newby tells me he is pretty sure that the Governor Ron DeSantis, will appoint someone in the interim to fill that few months there until that special election is held and we know who that next sheriff is. Again, this is just breaking before we came on the air. Sam Newby, I know a lot of you are saying, well, why is he rescinding this? You know, we still need to hold the sheriff accountable. That's what we've been seeing on Twitter, social media, people just reaching out to us here on the street. And here's the answer from Sam Newby. He tells me that it is only the city council's job to determine if there's a vacancy in that seat. He says as far as holding the sheriff accountable when it comes to legal implications of him moving out of Duval County, he says that is up to the Office of the General Counsel still, and whether or not the General Counsel will issue an opinion on all of that today. We have reached out asking for further information, and we're not sure yet, but Sam Newby told me that, quote, that's not the council's job. That will be the legal department's job to talk about that. And speaking of the legal department, before he did rescind this request from the Office of the General Counsel, Newby tells me this morning he did talk to their legal team, Office of General Counsel, about what to do when it comes to this. Again, Sam Newby saying it's not the city council's job to decide the legal implications of the sheriff moving out of Duval County. He says it's only the city council's job to determine whether or not that seat was vacant. Now, since it is, because the sheriff is retiring June 10th, they have a mission, he says, to fill that seat And again, it will happen special meeting, city council meeting Monday to determine that special election, which will happen most likely in August. Now, all of this happening very rapidly. This morning, we've been getting reaction from city officials, city council members. I'm going to toss things over to Leah Shields, who has more of that reaction.
Thank you, Kaylee. We're hearing from many people thanking the sheriff for his service to the community over the many years he's been an officer, as well as his time as sheriff, as well as thanking him for not dragging this issue through the court system. We're hearing from Mayor Lenny Curry. He's actually in his office right now in City Hall, and in a statement from his office, he said in part, he's given 3 decades of exceptional service to the people of Jacksonville. I wish him well in retirement, and I look forward to working with our next sheriff to continue addressing many of Jacksonville's most important concerns. And Councilmember Matt Carlucci expressing his appreciation for the sheriff's decades of service as well, and said, quote, what transpires going forward will involve direction from the Office of General Counsel. In closing, be assured that I fully stand by our city charter and personally hold firm to the belief that elected officials must live where they lead.
I want to believe he made the right decision. And I only say that because I don't know the circumstance. I don't know what conversation he had with General Counsel, but we all came to one conclusion, that he needs to live in Jacksonville. And so if that's his will to resign at this point, and then I think it's time for the city to move forward. And the council president already stated that he'll call a special meeting next week, and we'll make some decisions moving forward.
That's Councilmember Reggie Gaffney you just heard from there. And as you heard from Kaylee, it's unclear whether we're going to get that opinion today from the General Counsel now that Newby has rescinded his request. But we could still get it. It's just no longer on that 2 p.m. deadline. Leah Shields, First Coast News, on your side.
We know there are a lot of moving parts here, folks. You can read the full statements and updates throughout the day on our First Coast News app at any time.